All right. March 22nd, blockchain engineering meeting. So mainnet check-in. We talked about last week how we would try to push for release candidate today, or not today, I'm sorry, end of day tomorrow, so Tuesday the 23rd. I think we still are on track for this. There's just 3 PRs, I think, that are still outstanding from last time we talked, which would be the Atlas fixes, which I hope to have my last stress test done by the end of today and hopefully get it approved. There's 2483, which I think is ready. It just needs one more approval. That's the microblock mining PR. And there's the Prometheus PR, which already has 3 approvals. So I'm guessing we can just go ahead and merge that.
Yeah, I was going to defer to Ludo on that one specifically because I had some metrics in there that he was actually overwriting in his upcoming PR. So he was going to merge my PR into his and then merge his, I believe. If Ludo's here, if you can comment, please.
Yes, so I think we can merge your PR in develop and like I'll be rebasing the Atlas PR with whatever change are required. Yeah, we can just merge your PR in develop.
So I want to do that right now.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. Love getting PRs merged. Oh wait, looks like we just need to do merge with develop real quick. I'll just do that.
Click that update branch button.
Oh, they can do that now? Sweet. Oh, now it's going to run the tests. Okay.
All right, we'll come back to this one.
Yeah, other than that, it looks like it's ready to go. So that's cool. Right. Is there anything left for the microblocks mining? I think Aaron has approved it. I think he's just waiting for one more approval. I know that Ludo had one question on it. Do you want to just go ahead and try to answer that right now? Something to do with the reset cost and it having some interesting interesting uses that we're just not quite addressing. Are we good here?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just wait for you to approve it then.
Okay.
Atlas fixes, I'm just writing a separate test right now. It looks really good. I just want to make sure that it can handle, like, I just want to make sure we have like a test in the integration test. Sorry, tongue-tied. I just want to make sure we have an integration test that can do something like spawn 1,000 names with 1,000 attachments and make sure that the node doesn't fall over in the process. That's really all that I'm doing here, but that's relatively straightforward to do. And I hope to have that done this afternoon. And I think we can, if we can get these 3 things ready to go in the next 24 hours, then I think we can cut a release candidate tomorrow. Sound good?
Ludo, you had already done a bunch of stress tests on the VM, right?
Yes, there is. So in this PR, you can find a test that will like inject like maybe 2,000 up to 2,000 names with attachments. But it's not an integration test. It's like a manual test that you have to launch yourself, because the whole thing, like, I think it takes like 40 minutes end to end to complete this thing. So I don't know if we can and should automate it, but yeah, probably. Yeah, so on the Atlas thing, so since the subdomain registrar is not ready, yeah, I was wondering if we should wait on the registrar and yeah, be sure that we are shipping something that is working end to end.
I'm not sure it matters too much, just because the subdomain registrar not being ready, it sounds to me like that's also blocked on Atlas not being available widely.
I don't think that's the case. I think that I mean, maybe we should check, but I think that the registrar is behind. I don't know. Okay.
I don't know the status either. I was just, I'm asking.
Currently, the registrar is blocked because it's crashing on startup.
Okay, let's get that fixed then.
Yeah,
Well,
so I would say we should decouple both of these things unless there are any known issues that are blocking Atlas re-enablement. I think we should just do that.
I agree.
The more kind of experience we get things back up and running in a production environment, that doesn't hurt. The other thing I was going to say, Jude, in terms of your stress test, are there any kind of known issues that you are trying to either replicate or sort of eliminate through the process of your testing that have not been covered in Ludo's tests already?
I just want to make sure that we have a test that can catch like performance regressions, because I know that doing attachment, enumerating the list of attachments is a Marth heavy operation. It's not that I don't believe that it's not going to work. Like, I'm very confident it will work. I just want to make sure that it's covered regularly by our tests. So this is like a smaller scale version of what Ludo has written already.
I see. And so the thinking is that this would actually become part of some like integration tests that we're running all the time, and it would fail if there is a performance regression.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Again, like, it's not that I doubt that it's not that I doubt anything about Atlas. I just want to make sure it's just covered regularly. Speaking of the subdomain registrar, is that part of the blockchain engineering work stream, or is that a separate work stream over at Hero?
It's a separate work stream over at Hero, and a lot of the work is actually being done by Tintash, who have done sort of other work on the API before.
Okay, so they're not really blocked on us, and we're not really blocked on them. We don't have to worry about it.
No, not necessarily, no.
Great, sounds good. Let's go ahead and move on to the project board. All right, review in progress. I see Pascal has added a new implementation of 1641. Is he on the call?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. I guess we'll just look at that async. Unless he joins, we can ask him to talk more about it. Other big PR in progress is Pavithra's mempool walk order. This looks good to me. I think just there's a little bit of uncertainty about to what extent we should be mandating a particular walk order. And I think there's a issue thread going on here. What do you all think about this?
I kind of have like mixed feelings now about this PR. I know that I've approved it already, but I think all this PR really does is reverse the walk order. So like right now we walk backwards and all this does is walk forwards. Mm-hmm. And it's not like 100% obvious to me that this really solves any existing issues. Like, looking at the current mempool, like, are there any transactions that are getting stuck in this way that like reversing the walk order is really going to help? Mm-hmm. I believe the answer is no. And so I don't know, we kind of have a PR that's like trying to solve a theoretical problem in a way that doesn't solve the class of issues. And so I think maybe we should delay trying to solve this until we have a more coherent approach that's not just switching walk orders.
So is the, do you feel like we need to just do some more research on trying to figure out what the main causes of transactions getting stuck are?
No, I mean, the mempool walk order is not causing transactions to be stuck. I think that we could just say like what we actually want is what we're describing in this thread here, where we provide like an indexed interface to the mempool, where like whatever the miner is able to select by nonce order. Yeah, like there are strategies here. I don't really think that it takes more research. It's just,
Do
the
we want to
approach
do
in
this particular one is the question, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. I think like if we were gonna just like pick an order, this wouldn't be the order. Like if we were just going to pick one, it would be something like ordered by nonce and by age. Whereas this is strictly ordered by age.
Okay. Do you think it's worthwhile, and this is also, for Ludo and Pavitra as well, do you think it's worthwhile to try and separate the policy of the walk order from the mechanism that lets you pick that order? Like I outlined last night one possible way that might be done just by creating an API for querying the mempool. Do you think that might work for this PR? And then we just have one implementation that does a particular walk order?
Wait, could you clarify your solution? I actually didn't get a chance to read what you wrote.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Recently.
I posted it last night at 2 a.m.
Cool.
So, so I guess there's a concern here that the PR is conflating a policy with a mechanism. What I think we really want is a way in which miners can specify a policy for walking the mempool and picking up their transactions. But in order to support a wide variety of policies, we just need an API for doing this. In this rather long post here, I just outlined a very simple API with 4 endpoints. You just get the current chain tip. You get the list of ancestor blocks from that chain tip up down to the garbage collection height. So that would be like 256 blocks, I believe. Then we offer a way to find all transactions that are older than a certain age, but also have a nonce in a particular range and have a given origin address. The idea being that what a miner could then turn around and do is use this API to do some optimistic concurrency control to walk through the mempool API with a series of index SQLite transactions, each of which takes O1 time and space, but the whole walk could take ON time and space. But the concern that specifically addresses was something that Aaron had said earlier, where we don't want to have a gigantic SQLite query that loads a bunch of stuff into RAM unnecessarily and doesn't take an inordinate amount of time. Also, having a separate API from the walk order would make it so that miners can innovate in how they want to pick transactions out, and we just provide the interface for doing this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. So would we just provide maybe like a default dummy like walk order for like miners that like wouldn't want to implement that?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking we'd do, at least for a start, and then later on miners can add separate policies.
Oh yeah, cool. That makes sense to me. Probably would need to think about a bit more about how to change this PR to do that, but that makes sense.
Sounds good. I think it's really just a matter of making like a trait or something, and then we just have one implementation of that trait that does what your PR does now. To reverse approximation.
Sure.
Because I think down the road, what we're going to want to do is make it so that there's an RPC interface for this. So that way, a miner program running downstream from a node can just walk through the mempool and build their own blocks that way. But that's like, several PRs later.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I'll just clarify what the scope of this PR will be more clearly, like after this meeting, and then I can go forward.
Sounds good. Does that work for you, Aaron?
Yeah.
Cool. And that's it for the in progress PRs, except we can look at I think we touched on the remaining ones. Let me just pull them up here real quick. Yep. Matt, is there any progress on the Apple ARC64? Or is that still blocked on some upstream issue?
No progress.
Okay. 1805 still in progress, obviously. I might actually wait till 2.1 to fix this. We'll just have to wait and see. Possible improvements on the local reg test setup.
Yeah, I think this can be closed. I merged a PR last week that addresses the third point in here, and I think the other 2 points can be just addressed with certain config settings that I've discussed with Hank. Let's see. Yeah. Aaron, what do you think? Is there anything else in here that you think would warrant a change besides the use test genesis change state change?
No, I don't think so. I think it ultimately just, yeah, it just depends on, I guess, like hearing back from Hank and others, whether or not all the changes that have been implemented are like sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been like Hank has kind of switched away from like he's doing something else now and he hasn't really had a chance to really play around with this much. So I haven't gotten that much feedback from him.
Right.
So I don't know. I kind of feel like if we address the main thrusts of this, maybe we should just close it and ask him to reopen if he needs more.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate.
Very good. How's the decoupling work going, Reed?
Yeah, well, we spoke about this at the end of last week, I think. Haven't really like had a chance to look at it since then, but yeah, that's definitely the focus of, I think, the next 2 weeks for me, kind of, yeah, with respect to this code base. So.
Alrighty. If you don't mind, when you come up with a more fine-grained issues, can you just open them and tag them with this project?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna that'll be kind of the task for today, I think.
Cool, sounds good. And I think we just talked about this. With Atlas, this I hope will be merged by end of day today. I just want to make sure that I'm hitting all these tests to make sure that these particular issues are addressed. Modification of mining module. This is, yeah, Gavin's on the call. Working dir problem when restarting node. I think this might be in master. So this is before this is not, we haven't yet merged the safe restart from working dir code, which is in develop right now. So I guess this is just waiting until we have this merged to master.
What's the panic here?
It's, let's see. I think it got eaten. It just says process supported due to panic. Generate block commit op. Oh wait, maybe this is something different. Okay, I can look more into this. If it's panicking and generating the block commit op, it might be something else. Like maybe it's bad network or.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, I'll look at that after this call. POX contract parameter in allow contract caller for upper limit does not work. I believe Friedger opened this week. Let's see. So I think so it looks like Ken has collaborated this. Do we know anything more? Calls the Genesis. Oh, I see the, yeah, POX delegate stacks function. I don't know. I guess we need to look more into this.
Yeah.
Okay. But this is something that, you know, might need to be fixed in 2.1. Oh, I think this is actually fixed. Yeah, we merged this. Let's see. Stacking contract reference call out unsupported Bitcoin address formats. I just merged the PR for this, so I can go ahead and close the issue. Detect microblock stream forks at any height. Oh, wow, this is from December. I don't know how that's up on this list. Yeah, that's low priority. Accepted at different forks and not considered. Oops. Close these. Oh yeah, this is part of the mempool walk PR, I guess.
I think it's like slightly related, at least. Yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of surprised that the column here is showing issues from back in January. Is there a way to sort issues? Sorry if that's kind of a dumb question. I just a little surprised by this.
No, I think by default, newest issues will bubble up at the top, but I don't think you can enforce the sort order after the fact.
That's annoying. All right, this one at least is a week old. Okay, it looks like we should, so I actually got a Raspberry Pi 4 just so I could test low-end devices. Maybe I should just start doing this. See if this is something I can reproduce that Frieger has. He is using a Raspberry Pi 3, more than 3 days. Okay, maybe there's something we can do. I'll try it out. I think other than that, I think we've actually just not had that many issues this week, which is a good thing. Let's hope it stays that way. Is there any other issues that I've missed? Maybe I should just go to look at the actual issue list here and see if there's any that are. Oh yeah, look at that. We only have these ones from this week. Okay, ran through the board.
So can we just close out that working day issue, like if it's fixed and developed, unless we identify that it's a new panic?
It's a new panic. It's
I see, okay.
Yeah, I'll have to look into it after the call. So just discussion items, just to bring to y'all's attention, we had the architecture meeting last Friday, and I know that Aaron's written up some proposals for worked estimations for upgrading the POX contract and for rolling out some of the various other things we want to do in 2.1. I think maybe from there we can start jumping off into producing issues. Because one thing I think that we should be doing going forward is we should have a separate board for 2.1 issue tracking now that we're going to be working through these. So this week, let's just make some issues for 2.1 and tag them with a 2.1 project. And then from there, this time next week, we'll just start talking through those as well. Sound good?
Yeah.
Other two things to bring to your attention. The NFT proposal, the SIP 009 from Frieger is now moved to activation in progress. We're just waiting for people to start using it. And per your request earlier, Aaron, SIP 11 has several case studies added to it to demonstrate how the various catastrophic failure recovery procedures would be used. So that's just waiting for the approval of the people on this call. We have plenty of time left. Are there any other discussion items that you want to bring up? Like maybe we can talk about some 2.1 stuff if there's any more outstanding questions there.
I made a comment in the chat earlier. I was wondering if anyone's seen it and had any thoughts on it.
Comment in chat, you said?
Yeah, specifically when you guys were talking about Atlas and registrar updates.
Okay, I'm just going to copy it right here into the doc. Yeah, it's a good question. Downstream changes needed for Gaia? I don't think so. Because Gaia doesn't have any real insight or understanding as to how BNS works. It just sees addresses and public keys.
Awesome, thanks.
Yeah, with any luck, like everything about the public interface for the registrar is just going to stay the same. So you can still hit it up on V1 names and pull up pending names in their zone files and such. Is there a work stream being tracked somewhere though for doing compatibility? Like making sure that whatever version of the BNS resolver endpoints in the StacksNode API will be directed appropriately to the registrar when it is up and running, just like we used to?
Not that I'm aware of. I would defer to DeWalker on that point.
Sorry, what was the question, Jude?
So one compatibility gotcha we're going to need to work through once the subdomain registrar is ready to go is whatever's implementing V1 names or whatever the current version of that is, I'm guessing that's in the StacksNode API. It needs to redirect to the registrar when you try to resolve a name that it doesn't know about, but could be pending. So for example, if I just registered a name on .id.blockstack, but it hasn't confirmed yet, then the query would need to be 302'd to the registrar so it could serve the pending name state, which is how it used to work in the Stacks 1.0 days. And I was just wondering if that's, I mean, I'm sure this isn't new information. I just want to make sure it's being tracked in the StacksNode API workstream.
So StacksNode API is implementing sort of BNS endpoints that previously used to live on core.blockstack.org. And then there is a subdomain registrar. And so there is work to port the subdomain registrar over to work with, BNS 2.0 that's happening in the subdomain registrar repository. And so the 302 redirect that you're talking about, I'm guessing that it sounds like that's something that the subdomain registrar would do, not something that BNS endpoints would do.
Just the opposite. The BNS
I see.
To do it. It's redirecting to the registrar.
I see. Yeah, I don't know if we're explicitly tracking that anywhere. I would assume that it's kind of as we test for behavioral changes, but this is something that would come up. But I don't know, Matt, do you think it's worth kind of making a separate issue for this if it's not already?
Yeah, I don't fully understand the scope of that, but yeah, it sounds like we need a new issue.
So
basically what I'm hearing is that if you do like a name lookup on a BNS endpoint, we want to account for the fact that there might be a pending name that has been issued through a subdomain registrar, so it won't reflect on chain yet. And so in those situations, the BNS endpoint in the API should redirect to the subdomain registrar. Right, Jude?
That's right. The way this normally worked in the past was because the Stacks nodes were aware of subdomains and were aware of the Atlas zone files, they would actually parse through an on-chain names zone files and look for a special registrar text entry, which contained the URL to redirect to. So when you looked up a pending name for id.blockstack, the on-chain name id.blockstack had a zone file with that registrar entry that had the URL to the subdomain registrar. So that way, if I tried to register like, new name.id.blockstack and it hadn't yet hit the core nodes, the core node would first discover it's not in its subdomain database. And second, it would, on that error path, it would look up the registrar URL from id.blockstack and then issue the client a 302 to that URL. I'm sorry, to that new URL. So if I do hit up like v1 names, new name.id.blockstack, behind the scenes, I'm getting 302 to the registrar, and the registrar is just serving me the pending name state. I don't know how difficult this is going to be in the 2.0 world because the 2.0, the StacksNode API, I don't know how aware it is of Atlas and of subdomain state, but there needs to be some sort of a signaling mechanism where the V1, the StacksNode API endpoint needs to be able to know to redirect to the subdomain registrar.
Yeah, I would say, Jude, if you can open up an issue in the API repository and maybe include sort of pointers to where this behavior was implemented in V1. And then I think I can work with Mark on the app side to get a sense of, how many apps were relying on this kind of behavior to get a sense of prioritization. And then we can just continue tracking it on that issue.
Sure thing. I know this was a feature people have been asking for pretty widely across the board because otherwise user has to wait an hour for their name to start showing up. I don't know why my Dropbox is frozen. So anyway, I'm guessing that the impact of this is all apps. Are there other issues to talk about? Discussion items, longer term things?
Aaron, I just saw you commented on 2522. Can you talk through sort of implications of that bug on existing like stacking or delegation flows? Like, is there something that we need to kind of socialize with product teams?
Yeah, I did like this until burn height parameter for allow contract caller, which is something that you have to do if you want to stack through a smart contract. So if you're invoking POX functions through a smart contract, you have to declare an allowance or the smart contract that you're invoking through. You can't use until burn height to create an expiration because the expiration calculation is not correct. So you have to use allow, and then if you want that allowance to go away, you have to call disallow. It should not impact direct delegation, but it may impact people who are writing smart contracts to manage their delegation.
Okay.
Is there a way you could, so this is more like just a denial of functionality, it sounds like you're just unable to register for an allowance, right? You're not, the system isn't being left in a bad state. It's just.
I don't know if that's correct. I mean, the until burn, like the expiration is being calculated backwards.
Right.
So before the until burn height, the allowance is not functional. After the until burn height, it is functional.
But disallow would work either way though, right?
Disallow would work either way, correct?
Okay. Okay, so this isn't a catastrophic bug. It's just loss of functionality. Shouldn't use.
Correct.
Okay. Eek. All right, let's get that fixed in 2.1 then. Thanks for looking at that.
Can I ask, just for clarity, my understanding then is that if we're not setting the until burn height, it's just an unlimited delegation and users still would manually revoke whenever they want, right?
That's right.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Yes, but again, this isn't the delegation check. This is the contract caller allowance.
Oh, gotcha, right.
Yeah.
Is there a way to revoke the contract call allowance?
Yes, it's this is just disallow contract caller.
Okay, thanks.
Alrighty, are there other issues, items to talk about? All right, if not, then we can just end early. Give everyone their time back. Stop sharing. Thanks, everyone.